The Holocaust is a major turning point in history. From 1933 to 1945, many Jews and people of other races were tortured by concentration camps, death sentences, Nazis, and more. The person behind this horrifying event was Adolf Hitler, who believes in anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is the hatred of Jewish people. During this period of time, Nazis murdered over 6 million Jews.
Prior to the Holocaust, 9.5 million people lived across Europe. Many Jewish businesses thrived. Most people thrived, but some were treated unfairly. Adolf Hitler, the German leader at the time, had a huge hatred for Jews. He set up a whole alliance called the Nazis just to torture the Jews. Adolf Hitler was appointed the Chancellor of Germany in 1933. Soon after that, Adolf Hitler was voted to be the Führer of Germany. Post-war beliefs changed. For example, they started segregation after the war. World War I affected the Holocaust because people often blamed Jews for their defeat. Also, the Treaty of Versailles made a huge change for the people of Germany because it held them responsible for World War I. Great Britain set up a kinder transport program during the Holocaust to care for and educate minors under the age of 17 from Germany to stay there until time of peace.
The main people responsible for this tragic event were Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. Before this event, Hitler inspected his troops in front of the Prague Castle to get ready to send Jews into concentration camps by 1939. Before the Holocaust, Hitler established a lot of security, such as the SA and the Brown Shirts. They were responsible for protecting the Nazis. He also established Schutzstaffel, which were Hitler's personal bodyguards. Germany was not happy at this time because they had just lost 13% of its land and 12% of its population to Allies.
On January 30th, 1933, the Nazis started invading nearby countries and sending Jews and others to concentration camps. This event is named the Holocaust and lasted for around 12 years. There, they tortured Jews, people of LGBTQ, and those with autism. Those people were of all ages and conditions, and around 1.5 million Jewish minors were murdered or died of hard labor. Adolf Hitler was the main face of this massacre, although others did influence and support the cause of the Holocaust. Some forms of torture were watching other Jews get shot, hung, or stabbed.
After years of torturing these innocent people, Hitler wanted to speed things up. With the help of the SS, led by Heinrich Himmler, and German institutions, Hitler came up with a new form of execution. 4 years before the ending of the Holocaust, killing centers were transported all over Europe to eliminate Hitler's slaves. These centers were used to trick Jews into thinking they would take showers, but instead the faucets leaked with poisonous gas. This gas was strong enough to kill 14,000 people a day. Around 1.5 million Jewish victims would go into these killing centers, and only around 109 to 110 would survive. It's estimated that after the final solution, there were no Polish Jews left to kill. Most Jews in concentration camps had regular beatings. They were forced to work and were exposed to disease because of the filth and grime of concentration.
Since the Holocaust was such a traumatic event in history, there are many effects it has on us today. Many Holocaust survivors today have PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. They have PTSD because of the torture the Nazis put them through. Some also have concentration camp syndrome. The Holocaust also caused more anti-Semitism in the world today. As an example, on social media and online, people make many hateful comments. People can even go as far as shooting Jews for no reason. People also vandalize their homes and cars.
The Holocaust was an extremely severe event, and because of that, many short-term effects lasted that had an impact on many innocent people and many innocent survivors. Right after the ending of World War II, concentration camps and ghettos were immediately shut down.
Soviet officers told us to wait, not to leave immediately, because the Soviet soldiers are raping and looting. So he came back about 2 weeks later and told us we can now leave.
This change is great, since nobody was to be tortured or hurt. but it was also so sudden that it left many without a home. Since the majority of Holocaust victims were deported from their homes, many of them were left in the remains of the Holocaust with no place to go, or they often had to wait several years in the cities and camps before they were able to immigrate back to their homes. Many of these people were frightened or scared to move out, wondering if they would still be in danger and if they would still be segregated from the rest. The aftermath of the Holocaust even left many untargeted people with stress and a lot to clean up. This is because during the Holocaust, Nazis and others destroyed cities and buildings that were populated or owned by Jews. They broke down windows, burned homes, and separated families. These messes were cleaned up by the people. Some survivors returned back to their home with no education and knowledge to guide them. They had to find a job, home, and their family. Many of the survivors were scared after the war to continue their lives, be themselves, and walk in public. These short-term effects had an impact on.
There are many different perspectives on the Holocaust. Here is one perspective of a Jewish person named Aaron Pick. In his diary, he says, in any case one is afraid to go out in the street to distract oneself a little, unless there is an important reason to go out on the street, go in order to not run up against the hatred of our propaganda-filled masters, the Lithuanians. This clearly shows that he is very scared and does not know what to do. Another Jewish person, Irene Hauser, said in her diary, young woman fallen from the bridge and dead. In spite of having something to eat for 3 days, I feel today my strength is at an end and must sacrifice to last starve off starvation. Irene is clearly having a hard day and living a hard life. A woman named Madeline K. Albright says Hitler lied shamelessly about himself and about his enemies. He convinced millions of men and women that he cared for them deeply when in fact he would have willingly sacrificed them all. His murderous ambition, avowed racism, and utter immorality were given the thinnest mask, and yet millions of Germans were drawn to Hitler precisely because he seemed authentic. They screamed, "Sieg Heil," with happiness in their hearts, because they thought they were creating.
Do not use the word hate, and I don't judge people collectively. There were some Nazis that I disliked or wished they were not born, but I don't judge collectively. I don't think all Germans were bad or all Germans were killers. So I judge people individually, what I know about them, and how I feel about them. Well, anti-Semitism still exists. I honestly do not understand why the Jewish people are singled out. I have a very hard time comprehending why us. Why do they hate us? The Jewish people have given so much to the world. Why do they hate us? I don't know. The water to wash yourself was in the latrines, but you couldn't go to the latrines whenever you needed to go to the bathroom. You can go to the latrines only when they take you. And sometimes they took you and sometimes they didn't take you. So there were days where you couldn't even wash your face.
The Holocaust has affected millions of lives and even governments in several countries. Many lives, families, laws, and relationships have been taken away or affected because of this event. Sadly, the harm Hitler has done will never be forgotten or purely fixed. Clearly, the Holocaust has a major impact on society.